Right, can we make a start? Thank you. Alright, good evening all. This is the meeting of Fairlight Parish Council, March 25th. I invite members to make any comments if they want to. Could you raise them now? And we'll put them down against the necessary bits and pieces. No? Good, excellent. Move on quickly before they change their mind. Right, to receive reports and questions from councillors. Councillor Maynard isn't here, but over to you two gentlemen.
If you want me to. Yeah. I'll just say a little bit more about local government restructuring, which I'm sure you're all highly concerned about, should be anyway. That Rother has, in common with most of the other authorities in Sussex, has responded to the Minister, suggesting the most likely thing is to have unitaries based on the existing county boundaries, plus Brighton and Hove. That's the most likely thing. Some people would have liked a coastal strip area, say Hastings, Bexhill, Eastbourne and so on, along the coast, and then separate inland areas. The government wants areas of about 500,000 population, and I don't think that would have been achievable, even if it had been desirable to do that. But the government might be flexible down to a limit of about 350,000. So there are still alternative options out there. As I say, Rother's response will be broadly the same as other councils. Hastings had some alternatives. But in any event, this isn't the final, these aren't the final submissions to ministers. That won't be until September, and there will be a period there for consultation. So it's worth thinking about some things. I've had the opportunity of talking to some people who have had experience of going unitary. And there are a few points here which are interesting. The first one is that it will take up to 10 years for full integration to take place. The things which really hold things up are human resources, information technology, and those wretched people, lawyers. Those are the things which are the grit in the mill. But you have to think of all the systems and policies which have to be brought together into one. I mean, I chair the licensing committee. Well, the taxi licensing arrangements are quite different between Bexhill, between Rother and Hastings. They've all got their own policies and ways of doing things, and it will take a long time to bring those all in together. And think of the assets and liabilities, it all has to be worked through. There's a problem that the local discretionary services may suffer, and we've already seen, even with Rother, discretionary services, lavatories, when money is short, they're the things which get cut, so that money can be spent on mandatory services, such as in Rother's case, housing. This is how it goes. In the case of the unitary, they will be struggling to find money for adult social services, and of course that, with county council and district council, those things have been ring-fenced. That social services have been with the county, and other things with Rother. But when the two are together in one unitary, then the pressure will be to spend the money on those adult social services, which is an ever-increasing burden. And so we will have to be very careful in thinking about our local facilities. I'm thinking locally of Hastings Country Park, for example, is an enormous local and indeed regional asset, but financially it's a white elephant. And will it be properly maintained? Will it be properly funded? And you think to going over to Bexhill, the Delaware Pavilion. Will the new unitary authority be interested in that, which is a Grade 1 listed building? Next point, the new authority, the bigger authority, the unitaries, will be very remote compared to what we are used to. There will be far fewer councillors than there are at present, and the idea of myself and Tim and usually Carl being here, it is probably not going to happen. We were advised that we should, if we have the choice, to opt for as many councillors as possible to minimise that particular problem, and also to opt for single member wards, because that way each member has fewer parish councils to cover. But then you're stuck with one member, and if you don't like that member, it's bad luck, isn't it? So there's a drawback there. And it will all cost more and take longer than you ever thought. The efficiency savings, which is why the government's doing this, it seems, the efficiency savings will be quite a long way down the line. The cost of doing all this is enormous, and that, as I understand it at the moment, will fall on the existing councils. The government isn't providing extra money for that.
Thank you.
Which is awkward. I believe I'm right in saying that. And I suppose this is one for councillors, but it affects the quality of service that you get. We will miss our ready access to the Chief Executive Officer. Tim and I can email, phone, walk in. We can see the Chief Executive Officer quite easily and get things done if we have to. That's going to be much more difficult with an authority the size of the whole of East Sussex. We have some unparished areas down here. Hastings and Eastbourne don't have parish or town councils. They're going to have to get a wiggle on to do something, otherwise they will be totally at the mercy of the new authority. And you think parks, gardens, sports facilities and so on. We're lucky in Rother that I think we are all, everywhere is parished, and we set up a town council for Bexhill a few years ago. So at least we've got that. But Hastings and Eastbourne, when it hits them, they're going to feel very upset about losing their civic dignities and the powers that they've had up until now. I think one other thing that comes out of it would be the role of parish councils in planning is going to be very much enhanced. It's going to be much more important because you will have fewer district councillors to help you. You're much less likely to know the people on the planning committee, and if the government's planning committee reforms go through, a lot of things won't even be going to a planning committee at all. So you will need to get your views in very good form, in very good time, and form a good relationship with the planning officers of the new unitary. So that, I think, is enough about local government restructuring. I'm just going to say on a bright note, you may know about the Blackfriars development at Battle, which is just off Harrier Lane where the Emmanuel Centre is round there. Rother has set up a housing company to build 200 houses there. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, hasn't it? To be honest, it's a very difficult site and very ambitious to try to do it ourselves. But all the documentation has been signed. The spine road is there. That was an enormous part of it, but separate. But the actual house building will start next month. So we're actually going to see houses being built next month. Promise. Trust.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. That's enough for me.
Two.
Yeah, well, I think everything Andrew said is more or less right, especially my talks with people about unitary authorities. They're not guaranteed to be cost-saving measures, and they are likely to fall West Sussex, East Sussex and Brighton. And I think even more, just to expand on your point of not having direct access to CEOs and things, it's actually going to be almost a star chamber that makes the big decisions and the strategy. So there'll be 2 leaders from the East Sussex and there'll be 2 leaders from West Sussex, and then whoever's elected mayor, and they will sit together, and whatever the political balance is, how that works, will decide a lot of the strategic stuff, probably much to do with budgeting and allocating who gets what. I mean, they're raised within your own, but there'll be
strategic things like major roads, railways, and major planning decisions and allocations.
In terms of the planning, I think we've got to push internally from the district and anybody else we can talk to about trying to, I think, increase powers lower down. So it's not just shouting louder to a higher point on the ladder, but actually have more, because it's a consulting position, but with no weight. It's sort of included in a report, but it carries nothing, by itself. So I think there needs to be something, especially with the rural parts. We did hear this proposal about the whole strip of the South Coast being put into one authority, and it was almost quite frightening, because it just because we are, of course, Hastings fringes, as our plan tells us, and this is why I resisted that so straight. It smelt bad from the start, and exactly that. If that was to happen, we wouldn't be sitting in the countryside. We'd be lumped together with a bunch of towns and cities. So I don't think that would be good for us. So I think the east-west and Brighton split is more natural, contrary to what some councillors said at our extraordinary meeting last week, that there was no reason for East Sussex, but of course we know that historically there's a very strong identity why West Sussex is West Sussex. That's that. So yeah, all to be looked at and monitored, and hopefully there are more representatives, because I do worry that we can't just drop an email to somebody and they respond to us. So, let's hope they get as many members as we can. And then I guess Market Gardens site, that's a few things to say about that. I know the officers are still in the process of discharging certain conditions, and they're being made very aware of the need to sort of shield Josephine and Malcolm on the east side of it, and to sort of ask and insist on hard planting and things like that. So we're hoping that they're getting towards the end of that. I've been a bit concerned. We've had a problem with, I guess, not so much Rother. It has been partly Rother. It's a very confusing situation how we got there. It was an inspector who finally gave the permission. That was the coup de grace, as it were. The final blow. But Rother's conduct in it hasn't been exemplary. And at the same time, with all the protest that's been going on, and it's been directed in a lot of directions, and the builders have not conducted themselves in brilliant ways, for much of it. And I've spoken to them and said this to them, told them this. But the fact is that we've got a site, and anything we do to disrupt the sales of that site is not going to end up being better for us, I don't think, because they'll just go bust, the keys will get handed over, and they'll go into auction somewhere. And I think we'd much rather families who choose Fairlight rather than families who are sort of, sent here. And so I just think in people's public discourse, in Rye News and articles and social media, it's important to separate our different enemies, in what has been a sort of quite a long battle. It's just, my hope that, they do sell, and they do sell to nice families who want to move in and be welcomed into the community, so.
There is a problem with the stream.
Yeah, well.
The stream looks appalling.
Yeah, that's fine, but we don't want to put people off living there, so.
No, but something needs to be done about the stream. Have you guys seen it? It's just covered in brambles and rubbish and stuff. You can't see the stream, you can't see the water. It's just totally overgrown and it's a mess.
Yeah, they haven't finished that. They've got to do that work, which is subject to the technical drawings, which is subject to them placing the order for the materials, which had to be done, which now it is here.
But they haven't even cleared up all the rubbish.
But it's being checked with us, but I think that will all be done when they do that.
On that point, I think it's a lot of it is also down to the people that are trying to sell the houses. You want to sell a house, you tidy the house up.
Yeah.
Why not get them to tidy the damn place up? It looks it looks like a tip, but quite honestly, it looks like a tip.
It does.
You know, and you know, I don't see how the people that are trying to advertise it for sale have not said anything about it. Quite frankly, and they should do. You know. Yeah. Anyway, is that it, Tim?
Yeah, no, that's it.
No?
That's
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Just a clarification, sorry. This idea that he's going to have a separate authority for the coast region, what was the reasoning behind that?
Labour.
You say Labour, are we talking political party or people working?
Yeah.
I think the cynicism apart.
That's not. It was a complete calculated move. They could not come up with their proposal. They did not give one shred of actual evidence. It was all moral, socially better, we care more. And everybody was just baffled. Like, why would you bring this amendment with not a single shred of argument, like population size, tax bases? You know, there was nothing. I mean, it was just the most peculiar sort of thing. So the only thing you can say is that it's to sort of garner more votes. And
Okay, to put another point in it, who requested it?
Labour.
Right.
Yeah, the leader of the Labour group,
Okay.
who's the deputy leader of
Yeah.
the council,
So-
which was quite interesting because the leader of the council is the leader of the Alliance of Independents, and they sat next to each other as leader and deputy leader and had very different points of view. So, but it was all a bit of a surprise. It was a very lively debate last Wednesday.
The problem, I mean, part of the problem has been the very tight time scale that the government put on this. I mean, it only kicked off just before Christmas, and now we've got a wad of papers this thick. Great credit to officers for having got it together. In part, Anna Everett, who at one time was our clerk here, has put this together to go up to the minister. It's a huge amount of work done in a very short space of time, and of course, Labour or any other group that has a contrary idea to the conventional county system hasn't had time to get their act together and discuss it and explain it to other people. I saw something in writing, but a day or two before the meeting. There just hasn't been time to work things through in the way in which you would normally want to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tim. To record any apologies of absence.
No, just Councillor Manila and Councillor Manila.
Okay, thank you. To consider any request for approval or absence. I think Lee's ill, isn't he? Lee Miller's ill, isn't he? Yeah, he's not well. Okay. Code and conduct of disclosure of interest. To receive any disclosures by members of personal or professional interest in matters of the agenda. Do we have any? Yes, Jeff?
Grant award, if any, to activate.
Okay. Any more?
Yeah.
Dominic?
Number 14, tennis court, A and B.
Garden club.
And the garden club for the ground.
What's the second one, sorry?
The
Garden
number,
club.
yeah.
Oh,
Sarah and I were on the grants committee.
Yeah, Jeff's is only because he's got activated. Yours is nothing, so yours is okay then. Okay, thank you. Right, to note the resignation of Councillor Stephen Baker. We're sorry to hear that Stephen Baker has resigned. I know workload is paramount when you're trying to run a business. However, we have put paper in process, which will go on the website tomorrow for a new councillor. Right, to consider assigning the chair of the minutes. That's me. Sign the minutes. Have you all read the minutes?
Yep.
All happy?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, matters requiring a decision by council, right. A, to receive a list of items paid to date in February and a list of items for payment in March. All okay with that?
Yes.
To receive receipts and payments report, you've all read that? Yeah. To approve the February reconciliation.
Yep.
To note the VAT refund is submitted and received on October, December, £3,142. Lovely. Thank you very much. To agree the clerk to transfer precept when received from Unity Trust savings account into Redwood Business Savings account. This is, we're spreading the money about. Okay, you can't have any more than £80,000, £85,000 in any one account. This is not covered, so we're putting it into a savings account, yeah?
Yep.
Which will make the Parish Council money on interest. You all happy with that?
Yeah.
Very good. To agree to the clerk to transfer 20,000 into her account. No, sorry. Three times. Are you all happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. To note Unity Trust have reduced their interest rate from 2.5 to 2.25. Everybody's doing it, so not got a chance really. To note that the FPC agrees to pay overtime to the clerk for extra hours work whilst undertaking Silca. I thought we'd already agreed this at an earlier point.
It was in my offer letter, but it was never agreed publicly, so I just wanted it to be public.
Okay. We're all happy with our way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify, will that come out of the training budget?
Yes.
Oh.
The extra overtime.
It was put in there for the training, the
Yeah.
extras put in for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay, to consider grants application form. You've seen the list there, have you got the sheet up there, Jeff?
Yeah, this is on the agenda.
Yeah,
And we
okay.
can move to the other bits.
You've all seen the applications and you've seen the grants panel's results, yeah? Right, 8. No, let me see this. Yeah, 8. Grant awarding policy. To amend the following items. Huh?
No one agreed to...
Yeah, I think,
What do you want to do?
well, before we do this, I
Yeah?
was going to
Go on then. You're going to read out
read
that.
out a letter, and
Go
then
on.
we've got to decide whether or not who gets what.
Yeah.
Okay, but we've got the spreadsheet for that, haven't we?
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Okay,
That's
go on.
fine. The grant panel met this year as normal. It was an exceptionally odd year. I can say that after my time on the grants panel in the past and just from looking back at previous applications. This year, the Fairlight Parish Council received a total of 12 applications requesting £11,590, which is far a higher financial total than any other previous year I know of. With a budget of £6,000, not all requests could be met, and the grant panel had to make some very hard decisions for the suggestions to the rest of the councillors. Along with treating each case on its own merit, I reference Rule 2, the suggested awards have been based on a level of adherence to the policy criteria along with taking into account previous grants awarded and or previous costs to the council of what is public money and the ability of applicants to source funding from elsewhere. I refer to Grant Policy Eligibility Criteria 3B. Applications must be made in the name of the organisation to which the financial assistance is to be granted, and details of the application form, all details on the application form must be completed. The panel decision criteria 4H. A grant contributes to something that the parish council has not previously financed. 4J. Whether the organisation or group could have reasonably been expected to obtain sufficient funding from other and perhaps in cases more appropriate sources. Due to the high level of financial amount applied for this year, the panel had to look very hard into the individual merit of each applicant and had to take into account to some small degree those that struggle with high overheads and running costs but with an effective income stream compared to those who have a lesser running costs and are not even trying for other funding sources. The panel felt it had to point out to the full parish council that there is now a long traceable history of regular annual applicants that request a very high percentage of the budget, and it's almost become their norm to do so. This is neither in keeping with the first line of our policy. A grant is a small donation made by the parish council for a specific purpose. But we also felt it showed a slight disregard to other possible applicants as they request a lion's share on a yearly basis. This year there were two applicants requested 1/3 of the budget, a further 2 requested 1/4 of the budget, and a further 3 requested a sixth of the budget. Whilst it is appreciated that an individual applicant does not have the knowledge of other applications, a little research would have been easily achievable due to the good transparency of this and previous councils. The information of the policy, the grants budget, previous awards are easily obtained from the council website for all to see and to analyse their own application decisions. I'll refer you back to line 1 of the policy. Again, a grant is a small donation made for a specific purpose. The panel feels that this will need to be addressed in future years. Adherence of the eligibility criteria of some applicants had not been met in full. In most cases, this was, however, a minor issue. However, it was noticed that some annual repeat and even new applicants failed to meet either the criteria or failed to supply the requests on the application form in full, in some cases both. However, it was felt that our own policy and application forms are now in need of updating and can be slightly confusing, and the panel respects in all fairness that minor points on some applications were either A, difficult to adhere to, or in some cases actually non-applicable. Therefore, in fairness to all applicants, the panel hoped the council will show a degree of leniency in the minor cases, especially to the policy rule G, applications submitted without all necessary paperwork will not be considered. To this end, the panel noted all discrepancies, or not, if there weren't any, or not, for each applicant to assist the councillors in any further comments or their agreement decisions, whether this has caused a reduction of the requested amount or justification of the full amount. The grant panel this year looked a little bit more into our own procedures and those adopted as a benchmark or a comparison by other councils. Our findings are the following. 1. Fairlight Parish Council has a generous history and is still incredibly generous with its grants policy. A lot of parish councils do not now have a grants grants budget at all and only make very small donations on a discretionary basis through donational payments we're allowed to use under a code called S1137. We found that 7 nearby councils which still do have a grant budget, the average of those neighbouring 7 councils is only 1,500 compared to our generous 6,000, with some of those being much larger councils. Reading other policies, and in common with charitable grant donation awards, nearly all policies looked at state that grants donations will not be awarded for running costs. We found that our own policy is complicated and long-winded. We believe that our grants policy as it stands requires reviewing prior to next year's annual application on a completely new approach to grants and donations awarded by this parish, or at least in line with other councils.
That's what they asked for.
So this is what they asked for.
I've just got to
This is
find
what
something.
The grants plan was to do with the council meeting electronically.
I've got it up on the screen. So.
Oh, have you?
Oh, okay. Oh, no, I'll keep that so we
I
turn it round.
I didn't
That's
think
all right.
that you wanted that bit.
No, I don't want it. Sorry.
No, I didn't think you wanted it.
No, no, it's all right. It's not worry about it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read out the list of the applicants, the grant requested, and the suggested award by the grants panel.
And the council needs to agree.
And yeah, well, I'll do that if we'll agree what the suggested award at the end. If anybody's got anything to say from the council in between, speak when we get to that particular point. Okay. All right. So, Activate Youth Centre, they requested 500. The suggested award was 500. The art group required 240. Suggested award 240. Gardening club would like 250. Suggested award 250. Fairfirst requested 300. Suggested award 300. Village Hall requested 2,000. The suggested award 1,000. Mops required 1,000. The suggested award 500. Dish wanted £1,500. The suggested award 0. Fairlight Nursery would require 1,100. Suggested award 1,100. St Andrew's Church wanted 1,500. The suggested award was 1,000. Guestwell Scouts were requested 2,000. Suggested award was 500. Riding for the Disabled 200. Suggested award 200. So the total requested was 10,590.
Don't forget pet level.
Yeah. Pet level asked for 1,000. The suggested award was 1,000. That's from the donation rather than a grant. So the total requested was 11,590, and the award was given 6,590.
That's out of the grants budget.
Yeah.
Can I just add sorry, one more thing?
Yeah.
On the criteria met on this spreadsheet is very, very abbreviated. All councillors received a complete breakdown of our discussions and whether and what points of criteria were not met by which groups.
And can I just add that Guestwell Scouts and Riding for the Disabled applied after the agenda went out. That's why they're not on the agenda.
Okay. Councillors happy with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pleased to see that this is, as agreed, going to be standing on its own feet rather than us providing for.
That's down to the FRA. It's not down to us. They come under the FRA, they don't come under us anymore.
Yeah. Okay, well it says 4 dish here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So eventually it's theirs. But I'm saying that I thought we'd agreed that when dish went to the FRA that was the end of any subsidy from us.
They're still able to apply for a grant.
They didn't meet
Oh,
it
you're going to
this year.
apply for it, but you're saying that you're going to reduce that to 0.
Well, we found the application this year failed on too many points.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, right. Thanks, Jeff, and the team for sitting and dealing with that. Right, item 8, the grant awarding policy, based on what Jeff has just said, to amend the following items on the grants awarding policy. 5F, applications are reviewed by the grants panel and the recommendation is sent to the full panel council, previously the Finance Administration Committee, which as you know we disbanded. And 5G, full council will consider the recommendation and allocate the budget for the annual grants using the recommendations of the grants panel. Are we happy for that to go down on the policy? Are you,
Yeah, happy.
you going to
I'm happy with that, but I do agree with what Jeff said. We need to review the whole
Yeah,
policy.
the whole policy needs
Yeah.
updating. Yeah, I'll do it before the meeting.
Okay, so we'll leave that 8 until you do the full policy itself then? Or do you
I'll
add
change
that
it.
in?
I'll change it now if it's been agreed, and then I'm going to look at all the policies before
Okay,
the annual meeting.
okay. Right, number 9 and 10. Rother District Council consultation on new housing development to consider the clerk's attached draft response. Have you sent that to us?
I sent it to everyone twice.
Is everybody?
Lied to me.
Sorry, I can't display that. I didn't download a copy.
Okay, but you've all read it.
Yeah.
You've all seen
Yeah.
Daniel's report.
Yeah.
It's okay, yeah. Ditto 10, the government consultation on the Sussex and Brighton devolution. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I send?
Yes.
Yeah.
Item 11. Leases. To consider obtaining quotes for Activate Bowls Club, Tennis Club. Leases from the following. Roger Taylor, SLCC Legal Advisor, Richard Palmer at Harrington's, recommended by 2 clerks. Surrey Hill solicitors recommended by 1 clerk. Yes? We're just going to send them to... Okay.
I was just going to send what we've got round and then
Yeah.
get quotes for.
Have we already used those? I don't think we have we? We used Gabby
I-
Hardwick last time.
Yeah, that was one of them. I think there
That
was
one was
quotes
the
got by a
Dorking
couple
one.
of other ones, but I can't remember which ones they
It
were.
was, one was in Dorking, which was waste of space. Oh, Tim.
Can I suspend?
Yeah, suspend the orders, yes.
Yeah, Pet are using Harrington's and they've got a quote of 900
Yeah.
for doing their the toilets down there for their lease. Just
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think Harrington's quite good.
Okay.
Should we add those to the list then?
Harrington's
If I
already
get-
on there.
Sorry, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, no, B, Richard Palmer and Harrington's, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's all right.
Robin, apologies.
Okay, we'll leave that to the clerks to do as necessary then, yeah? Sorry?
So I'll take quotes from these
Yeah.
three.
And item 12, SS Line Land Management. Chair to give a report. Let me just find the report, bear with me. Oh, right, I think. Right, we received a couple of emails shortly after the last meeting. We've been advised the best person for the residents to contact will be the Channel Way Residents Association, the chairman there. However, from our point of view, it's our land and we've taken photos of, Councillor Clark has taken photos of the area and it certainly looks nice and clean to me and it looks fine. So however, they will contact you, John. Okay? With
Yeah, I'm not
regard-
the chairman anymore.
You're not?
No, next door is now.
And who is?
Darryl Croydon.
Okay, thank you. Croydon.
It looked as if it had been cut back fairly recently when I was up there, but
it was-
apparently it hasn't been. But
It was
It
flowered
looked
in
like it.
January.
well, there we are.
The whole thing is flowered every year.
So I was told. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice and clear, it's nice and
It's,
tidy.
yeah,
It
it's
is
fine.
fine. Yeah, okay. Okay, footpath 13 or number 13, footpath 32 and 34, to consider options to rectify issues with footpaths 32 and 34.
We have got anything, I thought Michael would just give a report
Okay.
on what he thinks is going to
Yeah, I sent Jeff some recommendations a couple of weeks ago, and really there's no there's no solution to it which would be lasting, because there'll always be soil washed down off an old wood, so it'll need to be cleaned on a fairly regular basis, say once annually. But I think the only way you can do is something that Jeff suggested early on, was if we somehow scrape the surface, because there is a surface there, especially on footpath 32, which is from Waits Lane up to
Woodland
Knoll Road. That there appears to be something there for the most part. So maybe just somehow sort of scarifying the surface somehow. It will reveal a reasonable surface
This
to
is
walk on.
This is 32.
32. Yeah.
Okay. Is it worth asking for volunteers to?
Also the bit,
I
the last
think you
bit
would need
leading
to
into the
scrape
wood.
by
No,
JCB.
no, the bit before.
Sorry, by JCB.
I think, wouldn't you say, Michael?
Sorry?
It would sort of need scraping really
Yeah, it
by
just needs
JCB.
a sort of scraping back to see if there's a reasonable surface that would be reasonably safe to walk on.
But Jeff is saying possibly by JCB.
Yes, regrettably, yeah, it would have to be something like that. It's not a simple job.
No, it's quite heavy. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's quite heavy work to be done.
Oh yeah,
online,
yeah.
so,
I don't think it's something that can be done manually. No, I think there's a piece of machine.
Right, can we have a proposal then that we get, I'm taking 32 first.
Yeah.
We'll do 34. Can I have a proposal that Clark gets a quote to scrape that back?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But I don't think we can rule out a bit of hard gravel or something hardcore.
MOT1.
Okay.
But we're only talking quite a narrow. We're only talking a narrow path.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be the full width
No,
of
it
it.
doesn't.
Just enough as a reasonable width of, say, a couple of feet. If that.
Where exactly is footpath 32?
Between Broadway,
Broadway opposite St Andrew's
West
Church
End
to
and
Woodland Way.
like a church.
Between the houses 21 and
To Peter's
22.
Church.
Right, is that the one that goes up by
Yeah.
the new houses?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay, gotcha.
So the lower half is not a problem.
Yeah, right, it's just the other
It's
half.
from the new houses up.
Okay.
Okay, Clark will get a quote for that. And then we'll take it on board what the chap with the doodle says we should do afterwards. Oh, yeah, okay. Right, 34.
Yeah.
34. I reckon that the bottom steps are the ones that need attention most of all. And it's a matter of clearing. Again, I don't think you need to clear the whole width and keep the cost down. You just need a path through the middle of it. So it's really clearing both the top steps and the bottom steps. And any other clearance of surface, which obviously has become subject to a certain amount of wash down off the wood. Just exactly how you attempt that and how you do it without doing it manually, I don't know, because it's relatively bitty, isn't it?
If someone comes to do 32, if they have their own digger, they could potentially do 34 at the same time.
Yeah, it could.
Save costs, maybe.
It might be, well, because there is some steps, it might be difficult to go with a machine.
Oh,
No,
really?
it's been.
Yeah.
I've already had a guy look at it and he's verified he can't do top steps. That would be manual labour, shoveling off. The strip be the same as 32, needs scraping to do. And the bottom steps again, they could be scraped down.
Okay. So we get the same guy to do 32 and 34 then, yeah? To take a look at 34 and see what we can do.
Okay.
I think the other thing to say is that we need to consider sort of an annual clearing of it at the very least. Otherwise it'll just build up again and we'll be faced with the same problem. So it does need some form of maintenance regime for the future.
Sorry, 34, will they need to lay type 1 on that as well, or is that just scraping it back?
On lower steps and
On
on
the
the
lower
flat.
The bottom step, straight with machine and lay type 1, and then are we going to do anything for up manually, or are we leaving that?
Well, I think we'd have to
Yeah.
do it manually, the
Okay.
top steps, and also the top steps. For a health and safety reasons, definitely need a grab rail, which can be put
A
straight
rail?
onto the
Yeah.
concrete. Okay.
So do you want me to get a quote for the rail as well, or is
I
that?
think we can
Well,
at least
yeah.
hide
we
one.
can do that.
You two can get the quote for that then?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. Okay, is that it? Michael?
That's it basically for the moment, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right.
And I should actually say, pardon me, that this is not a be-all and end-all solution.
No.
It needs constant attention, really. Or
Okay.
probably an annual or maybe biannual.
It's not been done for 5 years to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Michael. Right, 14, tennis court access. To receive clerk's recommendation report and consider quotes for 2 options for tennis court access route. Quotes to be tabled at the meeting. We've got option 1 to clear a new pathway.
I know.
Okay. Okay, option 1 to clear a new pathway through the bushes, grade with a digger and lay bark chippings or type 1. The pathway will still start to the left of the tree. Presumably somebody knows which tree. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, there's only one tree. I think it's a, I can't remember what kind of tree it
Okay.
is, but there's just one tree kind of in the middle of all the bushes.
Okay. Option 2 is to start set edging in existing path and fill with bark chipping type 1.
Thing was there with like prices on it. I don't know. It's on there.
Well, we're clearly
Oh,
option.
they're here. They're on here.
Well,
Have you got them on yours? The
No.
No,
prices?
we didn't get
No,
the
I've just done one.
so you wouldn't have to.
right, right, the clerk's just mislaid the. You should not send them out, really.
I printed the.
Okay, so option 1, the total cost for that, there's quite a bit of work, £2,739.60.
Is that with VAT?
No, there's not VAT registered that.
Turn over the
Oh,
top
that's-
page where it's got the colour underneath Daniel's hand. There's a part, yeah, if you turn over that page.
Right, so the option 1, we've got the 3 quotes. We've got £1,550, £1,750 or £2,739. They're all going to do more or less the same, to clear a path through the bushes as discussed on site, and level off ready for bark, lay 150mm wooden edging, etc, etc, to lay a weed suppressor. Option 2, clear a section of bushes starting at the top near the tree, clear down towards the tennis court opening using an excavator, levelling the ground off to make a sweeping slope. Use I can't read, wooden boards and type 1 to create the path. Number 3, which is the dearest, cut and clear overgreen and shrubs, make sloping pathway from the curb, well, it's going to be slippery, watering, burn vegetation on bonfire, treat with weed killer, grade wide digger, to supply and lay heavy duty membrane. Quote was originally split. So you've got 3 quotes there for number 1. That's option 1. Option 2, which is 3 quotes again, from all the same, all from the same 2 people, all the same people. Yeah, £1,950, £1,127.30, £1,241.20. this is for option 2. It's use existing walkways. What was one? The other one was create a new access to the tennis court from the play field, so it's going in from the other end, yeah? That's number 2.
So option 2 is to create a pathway on the path that's already there. So straight from like that, lay boards and fill it with either type 1 or bark. And option 1 is to make the pathway through the
From the
bushes,
bottom end.
yeah, next to where the tree is.
Yeah. And option 2 is at the other end by the play park. Coming down from there.
No,
that one
so
is.
option 2 is to do the pathway where the pathway already is.
Use existing pathways from the basketball area.
No, sorry.
That looks like this one actually.
The play field, so number 2.
This looks like that.
That one there is coming down
Yeah, it does.
from the courts, from up by the play field.
I think he just means like from the field next to us, so
Okay.
from where the basketball
Yeah.
court is.
Have you all seen these?
Yeah.
I take it you've seen them, yeah?
I can't see the option 2, the McConaughey one, scraping off the wet soil because it's
Good
you're
luck
just
with
going to
that.
get a build up of water again on what's underneath it. They're going to create some drainage there. No mention of creating a drainage channel or
We're just saying lane.
It's just scraping it off and
type 1.
dumping stuff down on it.
Yeah, it's that ain't going to work.
He did mention putting drains on the, if you're walking from this way and the bushes are on your right, putting them in down by the woods, but obviously it's getting expensive.
He hasn't quoted that, has he?
Well, what are we talking about here then, Jeff? 1 or 2? I mean,
Well, I prefer option 2.
okay.
I think that's more logical because option 1 is only going to help people cut across the main width of the field and cut down almost a shortcut down to the tennis courts.
Yeah.
Right.
Option 2 is going to cover everyone walking from one side of the woods, coming out to the fields and going back into another entrance into the woods, as well as alleviating the complaints from the tennis courts.
Okay.
But the snag is how it's set out here on option 2 is the second one is actually more like option 1. Quote 000109.
Yeah.
That one, because it says new access to the tennis court from the playing field. A section of gorse brow will be cleared by volunteers to be able to create a stepping way to the court, access to the water, avoiding the soggy path area. So that's not really the existing path, is it?
It's just right next to the existing path. So if the bushes, I'll show you on here. So if the bushes are here, on this one.
Yeah.
I think he was planning on clearing some of the bushes along here and then doing it on the left-hand side of the existing pathway. That's what I think he was planning on doing. So he has a couple of different options.
Snag there, is it? I mean, it's still going to get soaking in water. So, maybe it'd be better if the railway sleepers along the whole length. There's the wating thing and then some nuggets on top, rather than just using sleepers for the edging.
So he's got
We need
That's
to
definitely this one here, isn't it?
raise the
To me.
path, don't we?
But I'm a bit confused why that is basically a longer duplication of that.
Which one?
Well, this one here just seems a longer duplication. Option 2 of option 2
Exactly.
seems a bit of an exaggerated elongation.
That's a different place, so that's going through the bushes and that's going on the existing pathway.
this
That's
one.
what we were just
So
saying.
both of these ones
Yeah,
are
but
going
he's got. Yeah, but that's the same person.
yeah,
And this one says access to the benefit from Plainfield through a section of the course ground.
yeah.
So that isn't from the.
Danielle
Hang on,
showed,
hang on there.
It's the brambles that are on the left of the existing pathway.
Danielle showed us just now. If you showed Jeff, like just so Sarah and I, showed
Oh, I see,
Jeff
so
on
on
that
slightly
photo.
higher.
Oh, yeah,
Like
so
we just
he's
showed,
talking about clearing this little bit down
Right,
here.
okay.
And then doing it to the left of the path, so the tennis courts are here.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just talking
okay.
about clearing
All
this
right, I'm
little
with
bit,
you.
and
Yeah.
then doing it, so it's not on the, directly on the existing pathway,
Yeah,
but it's just
yeah,
to the
just-
left of it. But obviously you need someone to clear it.
I'm just wondering whether we need to have raised paths.
Well, they will be.
No, well, not really. I mean, they're still going to be at the same level, aren't they? They're just putting edging in, but that's not going to hack it, is it? You really need something above the water level. So you need it something. So if you had sort of sleeper strategically
You're
placed.
talking about scaffold boards, about that wide.
10 inches wide, scaffold boards.
So scaffold boards would be.
Oh, yes, I think in one he's put railway sleepers and in that one he's put scaffold boards.
Right. Yeah. Definitely needs to be a raised path.
It would raise it up to.
It definitely needs to be raised. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how you'd be able to do that because the railway sleepers.
No.
Well,
No,
not
it's
if
just not
not if
that.
they're railway sleepers,
No, that's.
because they're around £300 each.
Mm.
I mean, to me, I would say option 3 of the second options is the most logical, but my only concern would be that you're talking almost a barrier capturing all the water coming down off the field
Yes.
at that ball.
But what it does need is it needs gaps between the balls.
Yeah, for it to drain
So you
away.
can put a drainage bit in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small alteration with a small drainage channel.
Okay, can we?
Lots of them. Yeah.
Somebody saying that it was actually surfacing beneath all that
When I-
mud from
when I-
existing.
Someone's
Spaded through
previously
it.
tried to do something with the path,
Yeah.
and it's got gravel or something
Something
in
in
it,
it.
but
Has
obviously
gravel
it
under the
hasn't
mud.
worked previously.
Well, no, more mud's just been
More
washed
mud,
over over
so,
years.
so you,
Yeah.
you need to probably scrape off the mud before you put.
I mean, I've lived here 24 years and I can never remember a gravel path, but I've dug there
Yeah.
and I can tell you there was once a gravel path.
Okay, so we're going for option 3 on number 2,
Yeah.
and we'll ask about keeping the scaffold boards apart from each other and laying a pipe drainage
Yeah, just
pipe.
something to get the water
Yeah.
to go
So
the
as
other
it
side of the
goes
path.
past
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay then.
Going underneath, won't it? Opposite, so you've got the path going there and the drainage going.
Right. Well,
If you want to.
yes. Sorry.
Sorry, I've just heard the word scaffold. At the end of the day, you know, with water, everything, they just rot away in time. And they won't achieve
time.
anything.
They have said they're going to apply creosote on them. I don't know much
No,
about.
they don't. Believe you me, I've just come across it. I've been down the tip a couple of times, the scaffold board. They just rot away. They've got no protection against the elements.
That's why we need it raised, though, isn't it? That's why the path needs to be raised up above the
Well-
level of the mud.
They will not last 2 years. You know, but, you know, that's just a comment.
Okay.
Were we expecting it to last that long anyway? I mean, you know, whatever we do there, because it's damp and it will always get damp.
Damp as well.
We're doing a Canute thing here, aren't we?
Yeah.
And sooner or later you're going to need
Going to
do
replace
something else.
at least the wet side balls at some point.
At least if we get JD to do it, at least we can monitor what's going on whilst he's doing it, and if he feels that what he's quoted for isn't appropriate, or he feels we can do something better, then at least we're in a situation where we can manage what he does, whereas we go for somebody else we don't know.
The only other option is if we can request a request plastic edges.
So like they'll wake up in a minute, don't worry.
I don't think you can get it quite that width, but it comes various. It's definitely 6 inches you can get because you can use it for decking. That might be it.
And what do you do?
Be more expensive than
Yeah, all
normal.
good.
Yeah.
Excuse me, chaps. Got 2 people want to speak.
Yes, Lee. Yeah, go, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't really know the path, just any other, but have you considered 2 metre concrete gravel borders that are 12 inches?
Yeah, that's another
That's a
one.
good, that's a point. Yeah, well done. Yeah, good thinking, brains.
I did a job in London, they had a spring, and it's the only way. They tried timber, they tried sleepers. I put gravel boards, solved the problem. With small bit drainage.
So how would you, how would they be cheaply put in? I mean, could you use...
What I did, I bought 3 metre concrete slotted posts, and I cut sections, and I buried those sections,
Yeah, okay.
I think
which retained it.
Sorry.
Martin?
No, I wasn't cutting you off.
No, it's fine.
Have you considered just moving the gate to the other end of the tennis court? Because it's always dry that end.
So again, moving along.
Moving
And
the
it's,
gate.
and it's a direct route from the kids' play park.
Oh, I see, across that little bit of wood, you mean? Yeah.
It's always dry there.
Yeah.
The gate was put in the wrong end in the first place.
I think that's actually quite...
Yes. Yeah. It's a shame that we don't appear to have anyone from the tennis club here.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you are?
Well, I am a member of the tennis club, yes.
Yes,
But I don't speak for the committee.
No.
I had hoped that they were going to meet with you to meet on site to discuss this. But I've suggested that, but...
All right. Can you get hold of...
I did speak to Duncan earlier, and he said it looks like option 1 is a good logical solution. Doing the pathway through the bushes.
But then again, that doesn't eliminate the crossing path for other people, only the tennis club.
Or disabled.
It would be disabled access because it would have to have 1 on it.
But it'd be a
You mean
slope,
from-
wouldn't it?
But it's not
compressed.
very steep, the slope, because it's in the middle of the pathway
Yeah.
rather than the original where the original steps were. It's further over. Do you remember we looked at it and it wasn't 2 feet?
Perhaps we could discuss with the tennis club, could we, about moving the gate to the other end?
We need to ask that. We need to ask Duncan. Yeah. You let me have his phone number and I'll give him a ring tomorrow and have a word with him, see what he says. About moving the gate to the other end. Because that's their they own that, don't they?
It's a lease, isn't it? Non-existent.
No, they lease the land. They don't own we don't own the property.
No.
I see that the actual fencing, they own that.
I would think they own the land. Yeah.
They own the fencing.
So we need to talk to Duncan on that first before we make a decision on this.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind giving him a call tomorrow.
Well, okay, that's what we need to do. It's been recommended that you have a look at the moving the gate from one end up to the other end, where it's always dry.
Good decision.
Okay.
Well done.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Defer.
Yeah, we defer this. Okay, so we're going to defer 14 until the clerk has spoken to Duncan. See what Duncan says. If he comes back and says no, it can't be for whatever reason, and I don't know, we'll consider the concrete gravel balls.
Sorry, when Ian McConaughey originally quoted for concrete gravel balls, but I'm sure he said that they wouldn't stay in place. I'm pretty sure that's why he changed it to wooden ones.
They wouldn't stay in place.
Yeah.
They'll be more difficult. Unless you do something like Jeff has suggested, they would be an awful difficult to
Which
keep them in
becomes
place.
So it's going to
That's
become
why.
more expensive.
That's why.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's have a word with Duncan first, and then we'll come back to this on the next month. All right? It's been deferred for the time being. Okay, 15. The benches. Okay, you've all got the quotes for the benches. Right, opinions?
I like the middle ones.
Can you put a name to the middle one?
The Jackie ones. Yeah.
The only comments I'd make is Sloan and Sons are far too non-commercial for the purpose we want them for.
What was it?
The Sloan and Sons, they're much more just private use, not commercial enough.
Yeah, well, I have to say I quite like the gentlemen's.
I'm happy with Jackie.
Okay, but the one at St Peter's, isn't that a two-seater?
Oh, I would have said it should be a three-seater there. I'll take a measuring, check it.
Well,
it's little difference.
The only thing I think,
I'm pretty sure it's a three-seater there.
okay, are we happy with the 2 metre at the roundabout, the two-seater at the roundabout?
Yes.
And what was the other one?
Two-seater at the roundabout, two-seater so people don't fall off. You know, a bench replacement for the thing at the cove.
And a three-seater for
Three-seater for St Peter's, and I'm not too sure what the situation is with Battersea.
Hang on. We've got St Andrews here, not St Peter's.
That's my fault. That was the original one.
that was a deliberate mistake to see if you councillors actually spotted.
I did put it on the other agenda and I put it on the minutes, but no one said anything to me, so I obviously just thought it was St Andrews.
You
and then
get away with it.
Steve said the other day, no, it's St Peter's. I thought, no one told me. But yeah, it's St Peter's. And I've spoken to, is it Reverend Lady?
Yeah.
I've spoken to her and she is happy with all of these options to go there, so she's given us permission to put one there.
Have we got a quote for the hard standing on 2 locations?
I've got a quote which I got previously from Icklesham, and I've gone with that cost, which was to install a concrete base and install the benches as well. It's the most expensive one out of all 3 quotes that I got for them, but I didn't have time to get a quote for these specific ones. I just thought if we agree to the 750, then I can find a cheaper, well, maybe find a cheaper option. If that makes sense.
So that's St Peter's, and then we have 2 of these, one down just for 2, that's by the pub, isn't it? Yeah. And that's
Okay.
on the roundabout.
What are we going to do about the one at Battery Hill?
I didn't put that one on because I didn't know if it was a 3-seater or a 2-seater or if it needed a base, and we might need.
Probably need quite a lot.
Yeah.
Judging by the photos I sent you of 2 holes in the ground, which is all that remains of it. But they had previously been sunk into some sort of.
Right, and we got to ask for permission to put that up on there, where that was.
It looks that way. It
Okay.
looks like the ground is robbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it not a high rise?
According to what they've sent Danielle, no, they've sent a copy of the terrier map, and they've got the very edge of the verge, but this little bit between the verge and the field must still historically belong to Rother, because it used to be owned by Battle District Council. And so when my dad first started looking after the field, my granddad, the fence line was much closer to the road. It went right up to the road, and when the highways rejigged Battery Hill and refenced it and widened it slightly, that was when the fence line was moved back. So it's one or the other. But
if
it's a unitary, there won't be a problem, will there?
If it is robbers, is there an application form?
If we can give it back to Fairlight, would be nice.
Give it back to Fairlight.
The concrete pads that you've got at the moment there are in the wrong place, because there's now a fence, a hedge being planted in front of where those pads are. So there is a gap, and I've got photos of it, where presumably you can walk down the side of that field. Now it would make sense to position the bench where you can see down there, because before long this hedge is going to grow up and you'll have no view at all from a bench placed on those two concrete pads that are existing. So we have to have two new ones so people can actually see, and that will be the gap.
It always faced across the field. It was always a post and rail fence. My dad was telling me this morning, before they put up in the 1970s, it was a post and rail fence before that. So again, people would see over it. I don't think Ollie Hunter's willow hedge is ever going to grow particularly well, because it is it's willow planted in sand.
Whatever it is,
So,
whatever it is in the way. If you put it where there's a gap in the hedge, there will always be a view. And at the present moment, there appears to be horses in the field on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So you know, if you're going to put a bench there for people to actually enjoy the view, then you're going to put it where it's obvious they're going to get a view ad infinitum, as far as I can see.
But
that's-
if you
but that's-
face it the other way, it's just going to look at the sea, whereas where it was actually looks over the whole of the Weald, which is.
Well, yeah, that's how it was. But I'm saying now they've planted something so sooner or later you won't be able to see anything when you sit down there. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but Sarah's saying it won't grow.
It won't grow.
Well,
it's
it's
for you.
Right, we're not getting anywhere right now. Okay, so we're not getting anywhere right now. First of all, we need to find out whether or not we have to apply for planning permission to put the bench there in the first place. Yeah. If not, a question to Ollie, and I've spoken to him, like you, many a times, and I've got nothing against the guy. What about if we say to him, can we take out 2 or 3 of those hedges? I don't care whether they're going to grow or they're not going to grow, but take them out of the way of the view of the bench so as people can sit on the bench and see over the Weald.
Yeah, as I say, it should be, according to the terms of the lease, a securely fenced field.
That should be.
It should be.
Yeah, well, it isn't.
And it isn't. I do have the lease here because it came
Right,
with the
okay.
plan, but
So we still don't know who we've got to apply for planning permission.
I think it's
I think it's going to be Robin.
Right.
It says you may need permission from the landowner and or planning consent from Rother District Council.
Okay.
Well, we think the landowner's with us, so it's one and the same, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can.
Okay, right.
I've got quite a
Well,
bit
can I
of
just-
evidence. You know,
Yeah,
there
go
was a
ahead.
bench for many years.
Right.
If we've established that we can place it on Rotherland, my suggestion would be apply for the permission.
Exactly.
We can argue its exact location and
Later.
viewpoint
Yeah.
later, but let's get the location because it is a wish going back to the household survey of 2023. There was numerous requests for the replacement of that bench, and most of them came from people who didn't even know a bench up there ever existed.
And I have spoken to Wally about it, and he this, you know, something we are actually agreed on, that, you know, he would like a bench up there as well. So.
Right. But that leads on to the next question. We need to buy 4 benches.
Yeah.
Not 3 benches. Yeah, because we'll have to pay carriage charge if it's under a certain amount. So we might just well get the 4 benches.
Yeah.
I can always look after
No, we
mine.
won't have to pay carriage because it's free delivery over £600.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
But a single one won't be.
Yeah, but
So-
but is there no other ones that we're replacing? Is this it?
We're looking
No,
at
we've
St
got
Peter's,
3
aren't
plus
we?
1.
And then we're looking at 2 others anyway, aren't we? Just come in on the roundabout and by the estate agent, so that's 3 altogether.
No, there's the bus stop one. Yeah, 3. 3.
And then if we're going to have one at the top, then that's 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we might just buy the 4.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about them because they're all free delivery, aren't they?
Yeah.
Over 600
Yeah.
from the jar.
Be well over that.
So if we get 2 2-seaters and 2 3-seaters,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, with the necessary paperwork as well.
Yeah.
I told the clerk my double garage, your ex-double garage, is big enough to store it. I've got the equipment to burn Fairlight Parish Council in it as well, and rather set light to it. And we can stain it, we can varnish it, whatever you want to do with it.
It comes.
Teak oil. Yeah, it comes with teak oil as well.
It comes with protection.
That one's already done. I think it's only the top one that
Well,
came with.
we're not interested in that, so we want that one.
Yeah, but that one has already got heat.
Okay, right, but it will need doing on a regular basis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just about
So
to
we want
say.
two two-seaters
Yeah.
and 2 3-seaters. All right?
Yeah.
Good. Job done. Next move.
Sorry, what about
no.
hard standing though?
You're going to need.
Agree up to 750
and then just try and find something
and
cheaper.
try and get cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
No, you better.
Is that
Better
four lots
clarify that.
of, 4 lots of hard standing then?
No.
Just one? If we were having
And
4
you're-
benches,
that-
do we need...
It's
Was that 2 hard standings?
no,
Because
that's
there's 2 hard
it's
standings and 2.
750 per bench installation and hard standing. But there's only a hard standing needed in one place, isn't there? And then you say it needed filling outside.
The one at the
because that's
church
litres.
just will need 1 hole filling.
One hole filling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because it will be anchored down by Jewellery straps. That's how most of them work. And the one by the wool pack will need a new hard standing.
But some of them come with a soft surface anchor kit. Obviously, if the hard standing is going to cost 750 with the installation, we could potentially get a soft surface anchor kit
Yeah.
and just put it onto the grass for £66.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do that.
Yeah. So that's what I agree.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for the one that the buys bus stop, it's not everything that particularly wants
Okay,
to lock
so no
there.
hard standing
Can't see a
is
problem
needed
there.
then.
No.
Okay.
Okay. 16. Fairlight Pavilion. To evaluate the next steps of the Pavilion project. Jeffrey? Comments?
I sent a report to everyone prior last meeting. It's really up to the council as a whole what now happens with the project overall.
Do you want to recap on succinctly on the options?
Well, it's all to do with the water on the field,
Yeah.
really. It's all down to that.
Yeah, I know.
Until we can get
options
somebody
what
to
do.
actually to deal with it. The planning application runs out in July. So you need to decide whether or not, or the Parish Council needs to decide whether or not we're going to extend that. Okay, it's going to cost a small amount. It's a pen pushing exercise.
Yeah.
But until we've sorted out whether or not we're going to be able to fund the money to put in the big tank that they want to put up there, which is 7 by 20.
20 metres by 7
7.
metres.
At a great deal of cost.
Well, wasn't the other option you could connect, was it some of the water, to was it the mains water, isn't it?
So the foul water we have permission to connect.
Right.
It's surface water. Then the whole problems with the complications of the lease, the water disposal and everything, Fairlight Pavilion as a group decided it just could not see this project through along with funding problems. But the project always is and still is a parish council project. It now because of its nearing the planning commission date, do we apply for planning commission, keep it rolling as a project, as a possibility? Well, what do we do? My personal opinion would be reapply for the planning commission, another at least 3 years. It's going to be a pretty pittance cost, and keep the project as a possibility when, if times change, or we can really spearhead along again with it. Or look at a totally different, even look at a totally different design. A lot of the cost to date has been the provisional reports. The actual costs which you could argue would be lost if you go for a redesign, is it's not minimal, but it's nowhere near as much as the overall cost. And I think to close the project down in totality and have a loss of around about to date £14,000 would be a great shame.
Yeah.
I believe you've sent the documents
Yeah, to Chris.
to a member of the public who said that he's willing to have a look at the design. He has told me that he's also spoken to somebody very high up in Pathfinders Group, and their comment was the same as your comment back from Southern Water as well.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's no way it's going to get pushed through like that at the moment. But he is willing to have a look at the different designs that might be able to get away with you doing something else rather than a great big tank like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a sticking point which still have to come across. It's a disposal of the surface
That's
water or whatever.
yeah, that's
yeah,
not going to get over the
It's not going to go away.
Surface
it won't go
water,
away,
is
no.
So,
Unless, of course, they decide to change their mind.
but what puzzles me is that, okay, the pavilion was going to be somewhat bigger, but not hugely bigger. What's happened to the surface water at the moment?
The surface water at the moment goes through a soakaway drainage down the field.
Exactly. So,
But you can't use that if you're going to increase, well, you wouldn't use that anyway in any redesign.
because it's
You'd have to go through the planning process, and that would dictate what is now the requirements for the disposal of
so
that amount of surface
can we
water.
get planning permission to redevelop the existing hut as against upgrade it a tad?
Well, you can possibly upgrade a very small amount,
Well,
but you wouldn't want to increase the roof size and go through planning. Because they will say, well, your water, surface water,
well, hang on.
disposal is not good enough.
Usually, in the old, they used to say with planning you could go ahead with extending it a certain percentage for houses.
That's for
That
household.
would be redevelopment.
That's for household, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just directing this at our district
I'm sorry, I
councillors.
didn't realise you were
Do we-
talking to.
Do we think that there's possibilities, I know that's housing, but could we investigate whether or not there is some wriggle room, as we would say?
What's it called?
I think the
Development
minute
order.
you tinker with it, you just trigger all these compliances, don't you? All the things you have to be compliant with.
Even by upgrading or,
And it's not a conservatory, you know. I mean, there's certain things like in a house, you've got a permitted bit, you can build a conservatory at the back.
Is it 15%?
It's something like that, but it has to be at the back or at the side by a given thing. This is
The-
taking down a building and redesigning
No,
it.
But no,
no,
not
we're not
physically
taking it
There
down,
might be a
just-
permitted development order in that, you know,
So
on certain extent.
the official answer that I at least feel that would have to come from the parish council would be that you should follow Rother's pre-application advice service, which is really quite modestly priced, and you will then get written advice from a qualified planning officer, and then you'll know.
Okay.
I have actually spoken to them at the time, and they said apply for I forgot what it's called, I just said it, a permitted development
Permitted development.
order. You can do that for free, and then you get your answer back either way and what you need to do if they don't allow it.
is that worth doing?
It's got to be worth doing.
It's
isn't
free.
it?
But that's not for the council, that would be just for Activate. You know.
Yeah, but the council, bureaucracy, I hate it.
It'd be better if it was activated.
Isn't the decision that's pressing at the moment is whether we extend the
Yes.
planning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
So,
keep the
so then
project
anything else we
afloat.
can
Discuss it
discuss a
later
bit
on.
later.
We need
That's
to
what I
apply
like.
for the planning
Yeah.
extension.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Right. Are you going to ask about doing Activate?
Yes.
From your point of view, from Activate's point of view, I mean.
But I mean, the reality is, if this project is held, and I hope it is held by the parish council, that's my personal opinion.
Well, we're applying for the planning extension.
Is that a build is still never going to happen within another 2 to 3 years period, let's be honest. By that time, Activate Hut is going to need a lot of maintenance. And if you're going down that line, we probably would look at trying to do whatever we can to expand it a little bit.
Right.
But that's, as Tim sort of hinted, that really is something to do with Activate and not in the realms to do with the parish council.
Okay. Well, we'll apply for the planning extension.
And
You do what you got to do for Activate.
yeah, and we'll look at trying to forge ahead with.
Because in
the
reality,
project, further future dates.
it's within the parish council's interest to help out Activate as it is with the nursery school.
Yeah.
You know, they're the future people that are going to live in Fairlight.
Exactly.
You know, we don't want to say, oh, forget Activate, forget nursery. You know, they're going to say, oh, well, I remember some councillors saying, forget us. Well, you know, we don't want to do that. So, no, okay. So, but let's go down that route. Let's keep the pavilion on the agenda. There may be nothing to discuss, but somebody might come up with something that we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda. So we'll keep the pavilion on the agenda, right? Right, 17. Norwood, to consider offering. Okay, this is a chap called Robin Tucker who did a talk to the Norwood volunteer, or to the garden centre, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And what they're asking for is the Norwood volunteers are asking that instead of when they cut down the hazel stuff and burn it, can they give it free of charge to this Robin Tuppin, who is going to use it for his apprentices to build trucks.
Good idea.
We know that trucks aren't built out of this anyway, but it's just wasted material. My suggestion would be that maybe the Norwood volunteers could leave half of it to grow. Yeah, cut half down. Leave the other
When you're
half to grow.
coppicing, it just comes back. You're
Yeah.
taking it down and it comes back. You do it all the time, and it's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's every year, is it?
No, you're talking. You're talking about sort of every 5 to 10 years, maybe.
About 15.
Yeah, depends on
Well,
how
I think-
annoying the tree is.
7 years is about the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to ask them that use a bit of common sense in terms of when they come and chop it down and bits and pieces like that.
And I'm assuming there's more than one hazel tree within Norwood as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
so-
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're happy for that to happen, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. War Memorial Steering Group, to nominate a councillor to stand on the War Memorial Steering Group. It's coming to its end, but at the moment there are still the accounts that we need to deal with, so it would be good to make sure that we still have a War Memorial Steering Group, one of the councillors on the group. Any volunteers?
I'll go back on it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Jeff is doing that. Right. Right. Matters for information or noting correspondence. Have we got any correspondence? We have any.
Yeah, we just got the email regarding the fire in Norwood, and then.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. We had correspondence with regards to the tennis club complaining about smoke inhalation causing eye irritation. What?
I don't think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was. We have experienced smoke inhalation causing coughing and eye irritation, and I know it was the tennis club. I've spoken to Norwood Bonfire, the Norwood group. They've spoken since to the tennis club, and it's been resolved. We don't need to worry about that anymore. And this is from a village resident and ratepayer. Please convey to the parish, Fairlight parish councillors at the next council meeting my grateful thanks for the 23.1% rate reduction in this year's parish council tax. As is so often said, every little helps. I would also like to thank you to convey my thanks to the councillors for the running of the new parish council. Is that it? I think that's it then, isn't it?
Reports from councillors.
Reports from councillors, we haven't got any more, have we? We've done all those, and we go on. Yeah.
No, we haven't done any more on VE Day. Have you? You're
No.
looking at me now.
We've got a meeting.
Yeah.
So I need to talk to you.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm in France.
What do you mean you're in France, Sarah? I've got to be in Three Oaks for 6 o'clock for a
Okay,
presentation.
items for consideration on the future agenda. I've already said that we keep the pavilion on there. Anybody else want anything else put on?
Can we?
Yeah, we better put VE Day on because it.
VE?
Yeah, because it will be.
Yes,
it will be much closer.
And if homework is done before, can we get a bus stop on that?
Homework, yeah.
Well, the homework, the costings.
Definitely homework. For the bus stop. Okay, I know. That's the Knoll Road, isn't it?
And yeah, yes.
Anything?
Questions?
But I will.
Hang on just a second.
Well, it's up to you if you want to just finish this and we can suspend.
Yeah, okay.
Go into.
No, if there's nothing else, well, it depends if it's anything to do. Let me suspend the orders for the moment. Who's first?
Seal money, doesn't that expire?
In 5 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There is a small amount, but we'll be spending that now.
We have to fill in a form every year to say how much seal money we've got left. And there's we need to spend a little amount from what we've had over the last 5 years.
Something like 300 by this June, July time.
And then next year,
the rest is
next year we add the rest
4
of it
or
on,
5 years.
and it just slowly goes down as we use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Who else was? Somebody else had their hand
John.
up. John?
Yeah, can I say a couple of things? First of all, white lining has gone, Battery Hill white lining has disappeared from the agenda. It keeps disappearing. And, I am keen to get this project. Do I have to write separately or can we get the parish council to do something?
All I can say, John, is that when I had a meeting with Carl Maynard and the highway steward was supposed to be taking it away to the East Sussex safety officer.
And what time was that during the day, do you know? I mean, we've asked for these people to come along when it's dark, and when the canopy is in reach, because that's when, the sight and the edges go. I don't know where we're going. I've tried for 5 years now and I'm still not getting anywhere. So,
well, I've tried with
could
you
we have
for
it on
5
the
years.
agenda, please, so that we can just keep it live?
Have
Yes.
we put it on the reporting thing, the East Sussex Highways reporting thing?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, that might be worth doing every week. Yeah.
But I was hoping for big guns to help me do it.
Yeah,
It's such a dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous roads in the area.
Yeah.
And yet you go anywhere, drive anywhere within 3 miles of there, and all the lanes are white lined.
But
So why isn't Battery Hill? And there's been 2 fatalities on Battery Hill.
Yeah.
Already.
a lot of it, John, comes back to the fact
We're
that
just
it's
waiting
still
for
only a
something
seat.
to happen and nothing's being done.
If you use the Fix My Street option for reporting, it actually will send you a reminder after a period of time. So has anything been done? So it surveys whether there's anything being done, and whether it goes back to anybody or it just sits in the ether, I don't know, because I've got the top of Peter James Lane and the soft verge on a auto repeat. So I've had about 3 or 4.
But this is the white lining is a different issue.
It's
And
a different issue,
The biggest
but
thing
it's
against it's the fact it's only a C-class road, and that's been said to me 2-3 occasions now. Unlikely because you're only a C-class road, and it has a very good accident record apparently, John.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
fatalities are very
Right.
constant.
John, I've asked the clerk if she'll put that on the agenda for next time when Carl's here. We'll
Can I
ask
say
Carl.
just a couple more things, please, while I'm here.
Yeah, we'll ask Carl
Thank
to
you,
deal with
Carl.
it. Go ahead, Carl.
The CWRA has a meeting tomorrow evening, so I'll be talking about Channelway. And we are putting a temporary repair on the road at the moment with some type 1 because it's very bad at the moment. And then later on, early summer, we'll be putting another 20 tonnes down on Channelway. And all the residents pay for this themselves. We do the work ourselves, we get the barrows and the thumpers out and we do the job ourselves. We look after Channelway. So that's what's going to happen.
Okay, John.
And thirdly, thank you so much. I'm a trustee of the Pet Level Independent Rescue Boat. I've been there for 15 years. We've got a major project on at the moment. We're having to extend our boathouse, and we have to, although the boat is immaculate, we've got 2 boats. The large boat has to go in 3 years, it's immaculate, but we mustn't operate the boat after 10 years, we have to buy a new one. So we're finding new ones. So we've got in front of us at the moment £250,000 to find. But thank you so much for your donation. Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Just hang on a second. Can I close the meeting from here so as we can have, if you want to have a chat afterwards? Right, we've discussed what's going on the agenda. Can we close the meeting? It's fine. Yeah.
It's agenda related.
Andrew?
Is it to do with the agenda that we've got?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it can still come under any other business.
But we don't have any other business, so that's the problem, do we? Go on. Hang on, Andrew.
Paul Red, Applewood Broadway. I mean, I've been coming to parish council meetings, and under the item of the grants, I find it very difficult that the new parish council made that statement that we support Dish. Now, is there an explanation of how you do support Dish? Because the only councillor I've seen support Dish is Lynn Cook. She turned up, she had a look around, she see what's going on, but I see no other faces attending there. So I just wonder how that statement refers to, how do you support Dish? In respect of, looking at it, I can't believe that you didn't receive all the information you needed on an application form, then you come up with a figure of 0. And if that's your support, that's your support.
Paul, the information that was requested was perfectly standard and available, and it just wasn't provided. It was well out of order. Well out of order.
It's fine.
I can't comment on that.
No, but I'm just telling you, it was just
but I
ridiculous.
can't comment. So
Absolutely
will you be
ridiculous.
withdrawing that statement that you support Dish or not?
Well, the council supports every project or group or...
I find it hard how you do that, but yeah. Well, anyway, that's the comment I'd like
They've
to...
supported loads of it. It's been supported by parish council funds.
No, I'm
all
talking
for 2
about
years.
now, the present.
Yeah, but they've still got £4,500 of our money, or parish council, your money, taxpayers' money, was given to them last month.
In December.
December, was it? Well, time flies. Doesn't it?
As far as I was concerned, our understanding was that when the FRA took it on, that it was a clean break. That was it. They were responsible for their own funding, and they were going to be self-supporting in the future. That was it.
It was
And
originally set up to be
they
self-supporting.
were well supported up to the end of this financial year, and that's it. Now, I have some strong feelings on this, because my feeling is that we are past the point in Fairlight where it's some sort of repository for the impecunious, retired, lower middle class, where we're existing entirely on state pension. It's become a place where people are relatively comfortable, and we shouldn't be in a position where we're providing a subsidy for those people who are quite capable of being able to pay going rate for the service that's provided.
But you
And then
believe,
it was a clean
you
break.
believe as a councillor it doesn't provide or support, or Dish doesn't give anything back to the village?
Hang on, Paul.
Can I just make a statement about this? It's not really for anyone to have a two-way cross conversation about the benefits or the whys or the hows of a particular group and anyone's feeling towards it, and or for people to judge others on their views on it. But unlike, and I will state this, unlike other parish councils, if the umbrella body of Dish, which is the FRA, would like to write into this parish council, we will give a complete breakdown on why it was refused.
No, that's good.
But it's not for people to air their public, it's not really for people to air their public views on whether or not this council.
My main question,
I mean, I can't support
about,
them by
how you support.
Well, I used to go when I could, but well, you know, I work full time, so I can't go on a Monday.
And if people are saying that people from this parish council haven't visited Dish, I'm afraid they're wrong, because I've been there.
Well, no, I made a statement. I just thought.
No, I've been there.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Andrew.
Yes, I think it might relate to an agenda item. The footpath 32-34. Have you been in touch with the Sussex Rights Away officer?
Yes.
His advice.
With what outcome?
They haven't got any money, and this is his advice. To cut a long story short. I think that's right, isn't it?
Basically, Rights Away have a capital budget of £200,000 a year, which is tiny, compared with the 40 million that's spent on roads. So when you consider there's something like 2,000 kilometres of footpaths and roadways, that money goes nowhere at all towards maintaining and improving the system. So our bit of path clearance is not going to be anywhere near the top of the list. I mean, there are far worse examples throughout the county that are crying out for attention and won't get it for maybe some years.
I usually found them more helpful than that, but of course times are changing.
I think it's also a bit of a case of, I think I'm right in saying that Fairlight Parish Council adopted the ones up to the woods. Might stand corrected on that. But also, you know, he did spend quite a long time with us. He must have been with us for about 3 hours, going through every option. But there wasn't any forthcoming money.
Okay, that answers the question.
I think the parish council is closed to your meeting, your questions for after the meeting, so you can go. Thank you, bye. Go, get out.